morning, everyone. Uh, Thanks for joining in today. So today's session is the continuation of our Getting Started with DevOps on AWS series. This is the second session in the series, and today we will be taking a deep dive into the DevOps services provided by AWS. In our first session, we saw some basics about services provided by AWS to achieve DevOps in our projects. And in this part, in the today's session, Sanchit, our speaker, will be taking us through some hands-on practices to achieve DevOps in your projects. So before handing over the controls to Sanchit, I would like to take few moments for our giveaway for today. So we have posted a form link in the comment section. So who have attended the previous session and will be attending today's session, you can feel free to register yourself in the form link provided, and that will be considered as your entry for giveaway as well as your registration for the session. Once the session is over, we will be taking a look into the form, and whoever have registered, we will be picking two random people, and our team will be mailing you guys the subscription for JetBrains tools for 1 year. And that email will be, of course, will be from awsugnasik@gmail.com official ID, and we'll inform you whoever will win, and we'll post that on our social media platform as well. So I won't take much time because we have exciting session coming up, and I'll invite Sanchit on stage.
Thank you, Abhishek, for that warm introduction.
Hey Sanchit, welcome. And I know from previous session, lots of people, interacted with us, and it was a very interesting session. I'm hoping the same for this session as well. People will learn more about DevOps practices on AWS services, and they will learn something definitely new today. So stage is all yours, and you can take over.
Thank you, Abhishek. Sure, yeah, I know I saw good traction coming out from the last session. I hope
Yes.
the session also people do like it and we do receive the same good feedback. So yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me take you to the backstage. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Okay. Cool. So yeah, thank you so much for joining today's session. I saw good people joined. I mean, we have like good number of feedbacks received from session one, where they understand how exactly the DevOps is, why people do choose DevOps and all. No worries if you have missed that session, you can go and watch. We have already recorded that, and it's live on AWS User Group India YouTube channel, as well as AWS User Group NASIC. As well as we'll try to recap what we have, the main secret, the main source of that last session. We'll try to recap it before we move ahead today. And today's session will be more focused on, I would say, next level, like how exactly you can demonstrate, how we can work around DevOps pipeline, what are the other AWS services that will help you to take this to the next level. Let me not waste more time. Let me jump on directly to the today's quick topic. So we'll start with DevOps on AWS on second part today. As a speaker, Abhishek has done a wonderful job about introducing myself. Let me give you a quick recap. So my name is Sanchit. I work as a lead architect at Quantify. Along with that, I'm an APN ambassador. If you have any queries with respect to your career, AWS certification, any DevOps related or data analytics related, please do reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, GitHub. I'm actively available in all of this medium and forums. Do reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you out, interact with you, and help you to solve the issue. With that, let me jump to the first section of our today's agenda. So first, we'll try to recap. I think it's been 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure most of the people wouldn't have got a chance to go back and see or to learn about what we have done. So let me go and recap where exactly we left the last session. So in the last session, we understand how exactly DevOps helps different organizations when implementing the scale, the agility they are looking for to reach out to the market at the fastest speed. So before we move towards the DevOps part of it, we understand how exactly or why every organization is looking forward. Like every new job requirement you see in the market, every new startup, whether it's a startup, any big enterprise or a small scale business, everyone is looking out that they want to be a DevOps driven organization. Like why exactly? What's the need of DevOps? So we understand a couple of things like it helps you to streamline your entire workflow. It helps you to for knowledge transfer, giving proper responsibility, helping security, compliances. Those are the couple of options or this we looked into it where exactly the need of DevOps come into the place. Like as we listed here, building and maintaining the server, no environment management, slow deployment, lack of ownership is there, configuration management, deployments are blocker, production downtime, and security threats. These are the couple of handful of things, not the exhaustive list, but handful of them, which are the main major pain points. But there is a laundry list of items where organization always look forward to go to adopt DevOps. Then we understand what exactly the DevOps. In short, we understand that DevOps is not like a tool or a method. It's kind of a tool or services which you just implement and that will help you out of the box. It's a philosophy, it's a practice, it's a cultural change in your organization that you need to adapt along with couple of other services and tools. So in collaboration that help you to get that agility which help you to reach out to the market faster. And then we understand how exactly what's a framework where DevOps is based on. It's a calm framework which culture, automation, lean, measurement, and sharing. As that shows very clearly that it's not just the tool that you select the right tool and it will help you. It's a philosophy or cultural adoption which will help you to get to DevOps. And then we understand how exactly the DevOps workflow look like. If I really want to follow DevOps, how my SDLC process will look like what DevOps has added new in the traditional workflow. So always, I mean, previously also, if I talk about like early days, developer used to, there were sets of developers who used to write the code repository, they used to build is like packaging the code, they perform the testing, save those compiled package, perform the deployments and monitor and log. This was already been taking place. The only thing what DevOps has done improved is monitoring and logging. That once you deploy in production, that doesn't mean that you won the battle. You need to monitor, measure, and learn from it. And then there is a feedback loop for an improvement of processes. So there's a good amount of improvement that brought into the process, and that's where exactly the DevOps help you. And then we saw different practices like infrastructure as a code, microservices, continuous integration, continuous deployment, communication, and monitoring logging. Those were the couple of practices you say different actions under DevOps that help you to be more DevOps. And what are the advantages or the impact of it? You get high speed operation, faster delivery, reliability, high security, scalability, and better collaboration between different teams. And as we also understand DevOps, if you split that word, it's a developer or development plus operational or ops. So that's what you see as a DevOps. It's a mix of two different roles into one. That's why you see many organizations are really looking forward to hire more of DevOps people because they want to improve faster their market. I mean, rapid the delivery at which they want to reach out to the market and get the best in class quality of their deliverables. And then we understood how exactly AWS helps into it, right? What AWS offers any organization to be more DevOps driven. So we saw four different pillars or four different roles, which is like CI, CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery, automation, infrastructure and automation, monitoring security, and at the last, platform. So this we saw, again, these are handful of services. There are many more you can see based on your use cases. Like if you see from a machine learning perspective, you will look into like SageMaker pipeline, those kinds of stuff. If you come from a data analytics perspective, you will look things like Redshift, say EMR, step function, Airflow. So those automation perspective will vary from the domain which you come into it. This is a very generic, I would say, framework what people always look forward from an infra standpoint. So even if you're looking from an ML ops, even you're looking from a data ops, your infrastructure will always be like cloud formation, system manager, you talk about code deploy, those things will be standard, but your specific domain knowledge will differ based on the kind of use case what you're doing. So that's about how exactly DevOps can help you, DevOps tech and different services offered by AWS. And then we looked into it in detail in couple of services like CI and CD, which is continuous integration, continuous delivery, things like code commit, code build, code pipeline, whatever you're using like GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. AWS offers similar kind of offering for code versioning, which is called as code commit, code build. Like many a people, generally we do have building process of code. Like you package the code, either you do compile the code into Maven, jar file, or you do an npm build, or you do a pyc file for Python. You build the code, you compile the code, and take that compiled version and deploy to server. So that entire process has been done in code build. People uses different tool in the market. The common open source is Jenkins. People widely use Jenkins, and the AWS native offering is code build. The advantage of code build also, we saw that it's very managed, flexible, pay as you go. There are different security features it provides, like encryption and all. So those are the added advantage we saw. And at the last, the entire visual workflow, which is offered by the code pipeline, again an AWS managed service and pay as you go model kind of stuff. We also look from an automation and infrastructure perspective. AWS CloudFormation, a very renowned service in the market when it comes to infrastructure as a code. It helps you to automate your infrastructure. We looked into the demo, the AWS console, how it works. Again, if you want to understand in detail, I've already done a detailed session on CloudFormation with AWS user group Nasik itself. So on their YouTube channel, you can go back and see a kind of a deep dive video or the recording what is there around the CloudFormation. And still, if you need help, please do reach out to me. I've done a couple of sessions. I'll give you the link of that CloudFormation. And then comes the code deploy, which you will look today, how exactly code deploy helps in terms of the automating the deployment process. But we understand it's all about, like, if you have the bare infra and the incremental build release which you want to do, which you can automate it with the help of code deploy. You'll get that understanding today how and what I'm referring to. And then we looked into it along with different services, how it helps day in, day out to the developers in terms of AWS Cloud Shell, AWS SDK, and CLI. We looked into a couple of examples like how to enable Cloud Shell, how to play around with SDK. If you have from different backgrounds like .NET, Golang, Java, Python, you need not to worry about it. AWS provides SDK in of different programming language. So that's help you to take that your experience with AWS to the next level. And anyhow, when you work in production, you don't use AWS console. AWS console is very limited for POCs or sandbox. In actually, when you're working hands-on keyboard, you will need things like Cloud Shell, SDK, and CLI, command line interface. And that's how we wrapped the last session with a couple of demos. After that, brief discussions about the automation, about CI/CD, and about the different developer tools. Today, we will be talking about how exactly the DevOps services, what are the additional DevOps services help. So let me quickly jump onto that. Today, we'll be focusing about the remaining two pillars, monitoring and security and platform as a service. Followed by then we'll do a proper demonstration about code deploy and how exactly in industry the end-to-end pipeline works. So let me quickly jump on today's session. And again, please feel free to put your question in the chat. I have a second screen where I can see the question. So please, if you don't understand any concepts, put it in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. And let's make this session more of interactive. I don't want to make it monotone and keep talking about it and you guys get bored. So let's post more questions and let's get going out of it. So let's start, as I said, from the first session, which is very important. Whether you are a DevOps, whether you are a security guy, monitoring and security is a core of anything what you do. So there are a couple of services which is offered by AWS: CloudWatch, CloudTrail, Config, X-Ray, Secret Manager. Let's understand in detail which and what this service is all about. Starting from CloudWatch. CloudWatch is a very good service. There are a couple of services which you always keep hearing from AWS. I mean, there are many other services also, but even though you're a beginner, things like S3, EC2, CloudFormation, CloudWatch, Lambda, these are the couple of services are foundational services. They are called as foundational because whatever you do, whatever your business use cases, these are the core services which you will leverage for sure. That's why they become like the foundational of your any platform. There we see CloudWatch. Let's understand what exactly and why this service is very renowned in the market in terms of foundational. So anything like when you want to, let's say you develop any application, what you're going to do, right? What is a common aspect of that thing? You need to see how that application is performing, or what exactly, how the logs are getting printed, or if there is any error, then you need logs to troubleshoot, right? Then exactly the CloudWatch comes into the place. CloudWatch is a AWS managed service for logging and monitoring. So whenever you run any application, whenever you want to troubleshoot any application, you need that logs, you need the evidence, right? So that logs is being captured by CloudWatch, and it help you to real-timely capture the logs from different services, whether it's Lambda, whether it's any analytics service, any machine learning, any DevOps services. You can enable CloudWatch logging, capture those logs, and then you take that logs to analyze, monitor, and then react on it. Maybe troubleshoot the issue and fix it. Maybe you understand how your system is performing and take that feedback and improve it. So those are the different things you see in terms of CloudWatch. Again, the best part, right? Now you will say, okay, there are many other tools available in the market. What is it you're talking about new about CloudWatch? It's a fully managed service. You don't have to do anything. I mean, you just need to have agents like a binary file which is running in your server, or you need to enable, if you use like any services, platform as a service or software as a service, you need to enable CloudWatch there when you're configuring it. And by default, CloudWatch will start listening how exactly your service has been doing, like what action it has been doing, or what is the stuff. Not only that, but even let's say when you have EC2 instance, now the whole aspect that comes is performance, like how your memory has been performing, how's your CPU has been doing, how your IO reads. That kind of information has also been taken care. If you have the advanced configuration enabled for CloudWatch, it will capture all those kinds of stats also from the EC2 instance. So not only just the performance, but even the server performance. That help you a lot better to analyze and correct and troubleshoot the issue which comes up at very fast pace, right? Within just a less than, I mean, if you have an advanced version, less than a minute, I mean, approximate a minute. If it is a normal standard offering of CloudWatch, within 5 minutes, it start capturing the logs and you can easily understand around it. And again, even that you have like so much load, it's highly scalable because it's a managed offering. So you don't have to worry about having more of agents running, agent got crashed, this, that kind of infrastructure problems and operational problem. Everything has been taken care by CloudWatch. So that's the best part of CloudWatch. And that is why you see any solution, any services you do, most of the managed services which are offered by AWS, you will see CloudWatch offered as kind of a fundamental configuration. You just need to strike or enable that configuration, and by default, you will see the CloudWatch get enabled for it. So as I talk about, if I summarize my description about CloudWatch, you'll see that key benefits, observability. Observability is like simple. You get a full understanding of how exactly things have been working, not just one or two services, the entire platform. You get the complete visibility. Easy way to collect metrics, as I talk, is just an agent. I mean, if it is a managed service, you just need to enable the configuration. It's if it is a not a managed service like something like EC2 instance, you just need to enable, download the agent and execute the agent. Then improve the performance and resource optimization, more visibility, and more action you can take. Like you can, I mean, when we are going through the demo, I'll show you, you can also query the logs. There is a query editor provided in AWS console. From the logs, you can even analyze the logs. That's the best part. Not only just collect the log, analyze it, understand it, and react on it. That's about CloudWatch. CloudTrail. Now, most of the people, right, when they're new to the AWS, even that happens with me also, people get confused like, what's CloudWatch, what's CloudTrail? At the beginning, when you're very new, which is obvious. So CloudWatch, as I said, is for more logging and monitoring. CloudTrail is for more tracking the user activity. So let's say, for example, I talk about in the CloudWatch is the performance, how your application is doing. But similarly, if you want to understand how an end user is doing, like end user is fine getting sorts of an API, it is going on the console and interacting with different services, or he's doing some malicious activities like some security threads and all, right? If you want to get more understanding, then CloudTrail is that services. Most of these security engineers, when they start their career, the first service they hit on AWS console is the CloudTrail, because CloudTrail gives you an evidence that who was the person who accessed that service as a last, and then they try to see, okay, what happened, what went wrong, and all, right? So CloudTrails becomes a fundamental when it comes to tracking the user activity and the API usage. Similarly, how we talk about CloudWatch, CloudTrail again is a managed services. You don't have to do, you have to enable, you have to do a couple of things. Enable the CloudTrail and sync the logs of CloudTrail to your S3 bucket. So that way you can go back to your S3 bucket, have more Athena around it, or even the new thing which is AWS announced in the reinvent, that you can have lake, you can have like a data lake or more advanced analytics on CloudTrail. So that help you to get more visibility on your security posture of your AWS account. Like when you start new in AWS as, or you're doing like a sandbox or POC, all those lake thing doesn't attract you a lot. But when you think about enterprise, where you have like 500, 800,000 plus different developers working across different components or different engagements, you need those kinds of traceability to understand what's the overall security look like. Is there any sorts of attacks, any sorts of bad practice what people are doing, like credential leakage, putting credentials here and there, or not using it right. So those are the couple of things you can help very easily, and when you will see it on the larger kind of an portfolio. But again, it's a best practice that you enable the CloudTrail and sync the logs into S3 from a compliance perspective. So any people who always hear about there's a compliance activity going in my organization, SOC 2 tracking and this kinds of stuff, they exactly ask you the same stuff. That okay, where exactly your S3 is? Have you enabled the CloudTrail? Are you syncing the logs in S3? Are you preserving the logs? Have you enabled the integrity of logs? Those are a couple of questions I've been asked. That's why, as I said, any person who is really looking forward from security, I mean, ideally every person should be knowing the CloudTrail, but for security guys, the first service they always look forward is the CloudTrail. And again, as I said, it's a managed service. Moving towards next is a X-ray. Now, as I talk about the CloudWatch, right? The CloudWatch help you from log monitoring. X-ray takes that log monitoring towards the next level. How exactly next level is? Let's say, for example, Lambda. Now, we all know Lambda is more like a SaaS offering that you have function. You don't have to worry about the infrastructure. Now, you can enable CloudWatch and do log monitoring there. But if you really want to understand the performance, that performance in the sense is, let's say your Lambda function is calling and DynamoDB, it's calling an SQS, it's calling an S3. There's some use case around it, let's say. Now, if you want to track what was the API timestamp, that okay, I called DynamoDB at what second, what was the response time, how much the total time, what was the latency for that. If you want to understand those kinds of detailed analysis, CloudWatch will not able to do you, will not able to help there. There exactly X-ray analyze it, your code and the functioning of your code to that microsecond level and millisecond, so you understand all the API logs. So if you want to, I mean, most of the time we see, right, your application is not performing in terms of latency. The only way where you can take that information to the next level is by enabling the X-ray. That way you understand. You can't just go and start troubleshooting in all the direction. You need to analyze module by module. So there exactly X-ray help you to analyze each of that modules and understand where are you lagging, and then you try to get that module, try to refactor or improvise, optimize, and take it to the next. We will see a demo how exactly I'm talking about and how this works. But X-ray is very good service which everyone should enable, at least bare minimum for all the serverless application, because there you see that how exactly your Lambda is being monitored and how exactly your X-ray can take care of that. Next is a config. Config again comes from a monitoring or you say compliance service, right? So most of the cases when I talk about, let's say, if you have any of your organization AWS account, let's say any sandbox or dev environment, what people generally do is they have security groups open 000. They have S3 public bucket, right? Even though everyone knows that though these are the things we should not do it, but they will end up doing it. Or if you have some sort of your compliances custom, things like you cannot use any sorts of community AMI. You need to use the only hardened AMI, which is provided by your company. Those kinds of stuff, if you have it, right? Now, how you can get all those information bundled under one place, one console, or a snapshot where you can track everything which is happening in your AWS account across region also, not just region, across region. That exactly config help you. So config is more like analyze your different activity. It records, evaluates the configurations and everything across different accounts. So let's say things like incidentally you open a security group. Now, generally I've seen, right, when you talk about the sandbox, people start, someone had created a security group, other guy will come up, he will see that, okay, oh, security group is already there. Why I need to create new one? We'll start apply. Third one will do the same thing. Fourth one. So if that security group get compromised, you will see like 5 or 10 different application will compromise because you are using the same thing. Now at the end, if you'll talk to them, they'll say, oh, I don't know, I missed it. I don't know about it that it was open to 000. So now there exactly config help that from under the same dashboard itself, you can see whether that was compliant or incompliant. And if it is not compliant, then you can automatically remediate that with help of Lambda. So there exactly config help you to get more compliance services. You can add your custom rules or you can use AWS managed rules. And with help of Lambda, you can also remediate. Like simple as that, when someone opens a port, any port, TCP, UDP port to 000, config detects it. It asks Lambda, hey, someone opens it up, can you delete it? And it deletes a particular rule from security group. Those are the small kinds of stuff help you a lot to tackle any sorts of big attacks in a very proactive manner by enabling configs and all. So config doesn't get enabled by default. You need to enable it. You need to apply the rules and trace it. And again, you can do the same thing like CloudTrail. What are the events that get captured? You can capture that all the events via config and preserve in S3 bucket. So that's how config also helps in terms of the overall security posture by recording it. It will not take any action automatically unless you ask to do it. But its whole job is to record everything what's happening in your AWS account. And CloudTrail config in pair helps any security guy to implement the right posture. There are other services are also there when you go to the advanced like 200, 300 in security, like Security Hub is there, WEF rule, landing zone or control tower. Those are the additional things which you learn. But if you're just starting your journey, you should deep dive into CloudTrail, deep dive into config that help you to at least get the level 0 or level 1 kind of the security posture. Then the secret manager, as the name suggests, it's like a cred store. So if you have any sorts of credential, maybe that's for Redshift, that's for RDS, any sorts of API or token, anything you want, instead of hard coding in your config file, in your code, if you want to take it to one place, you can take it secret manager. Previously, even I used to do that. Many people, what used to do is used to put their credentials into DynamoDB before the services. Like either they used to use any open source third party, or they used to put DynamoDB and encrypt via KMS. You can for sure do that. There's no harm. Like you can design your own cred store. But the best thing about Secret Manager, again, it's a manage, but the best part, it gives you the capability to auto rotate. Let's say, for example, you have a secret and there is a for sure compliance need that you rotate your creds after 30 days, 45, 60, based on the organization, subjective. So how AWS Secret Manager automatically has a capability that after 45 days, it will ask Lambda, and Lambda will rotate that creds and will have that cred. So now in that code, you can write any of the steps, not just limited to AWS services. Let's say you have any creds for your GitHub, and GitHub for sure there are API availables and all those stuff. So you can write the code in your Lambda itself that it just rotates the codes via the SDK of GitHub and saves the new credentials in Secret Manager. So you don't have to restart, change your application and other stuff, because your automatically Lambda will take care. You just need to enable the rotation. So those are the best practices or simplified way you can rotate your credentials without going again. Someone comes up, you need to have like event bridge, schedule the Lambda and do that stuff. Secret Manager automatically takes care of it. You just need to enable the Secret Manager, store the cred, enable the rotation, and write a Lambda to take care of that. The rest, you don't have to worry about it. So that's about the Secret Manager. Again, most of the people always, as I talk about the DynamoDB, right? There is one more pattern which I've seen widely across industries. People use parameter store. So under System Manager, there is another functionality or a feature called as parameter store. Under parameter store also, you can store all these sorts of parameters, whether it's like in JSON file, whether it's in keys or any sort of stuff. And within that parameter store, you have something called a secured string. Sorry, secured string is another way where people store that thing. Again, we will understand in the next slide what's the difference between both on a high level. But the best part is, I mean, you can use parameter store or you can use Secret Manager. Ideology is the same, but the way Secret Manager integrates natively with other services, the features of rotation what it provides, that has been missing in parameter stores. So you do use parameter stores if you're already using it. No harm in that, but please watch out that it's not always idle in every use case. You need to understand from your use case perspective. So things like if you want to rotate your credential, you want to have native integration with services, then parameter store will not able to help you. But again, if you're doing it via some code, we will see in the demo, like you have a Lambda function with help of Boto 3 or Python, you're doing it, then that's fine. If you want to manage it on your own instead of hard coding, then you can go with parameter store. But in ideal way, Secret Manager makes much more sense. So as I was talking about, right, let's understand where exactly on a high level Secret Manager differs with the SSM parameter store. So free of use. So that's exact the reason is, right? The parameter store is free to use. That is, most of the people always go for the parameter store instead of secret manager. But if you see, again, it's a very cost effective when it comes to secret manager. It's not like $1 something. Like for thousands or 10,000s of requests, it charges you, which is very less. And again, but you see the functionality which you get at free of cost versus what you get. It's more like built-in password generator, cross account access, automated secret rotation, KMS, and natively integrated with Redshift and RDS. So you see all of this functionality are actively available in Secret Manager. For sure, encryption in KMS provides a parameter store also, the secure string which I talk about. But if you talk about rest of the stuff, they are not available like native integrations. That's where I said if you are writing it like via custom code and that's your use case, then you can think of. But if you need some native integration, then parameter store will not work. You need to go for the secret manager. So that's about secret manager versus parameter store. Don't worry, we'll look into the demo section around the both. So that's about the monitoring and security services. I'll take a pause. Any questions here on monitoring and security services? Please post your question in the chat. The same chat is visible at my end also on second screen, so I can answer you if you have any questions before we move to the next section. Okay, I think there are no questions, so we can move on to the next section. So far we understood like a whole lot of different stacks of AWS services, right? Which offers around CI/CD, the automation, monitoring, security, right? But the important thing, the core backbone is platform. Like where exactly is the targeted platform where all of these things you can apply? Exactly. So that platform is like Lambda, Elastic Beanstalk, ECS. These services are very renowned. Most of, I mean, again, they are not foundationally, I would say, like Lambda and EC2 are very foundational services. But most of the people, based on their subject, like what kind of use case they are solving, they use this platform varies. We'll go a bit generic of them like Lambda, Beanstalk, and ECS. Let's understand there are many more are there like EC2, EKS, SageMaker, those as I talk about. But let's understand this couple of services. Lambda, it's a serverless. It's more, you guys know more of than Lambda, which I can describe it. It's a serverless services. It help you. It's more like a function driven, right? So if you have any sorts of function in any programming language, in a .NET, Go, Python, Node.js, or JavaScript, then you can bring that code into Lambda. You really don't have to worry about any sorts of infrastructure or scaling. It's a AWS fully managed services which scales based on the number of requests it gets. And also from a cost perspective, you only pay what you use. So pay as you go, flexibility in terms of more minimizing the operational, and even the flexibility in terms of choosing the right programming language. So that's how exactly Lambda works. Again, there is a detailed session of mine on this Lambda, which I've recorded, and it's live on AWS User Group India. So if you have any, if you want to deep dive a bit more into Lambda in terms of how it works, what are the different functions or ecosystems around Lambda, like event-driven programming and all, please look into that video. And if you don't find the link, please put a message me on LinkedIn. I will happy to share that link with you. And we'll also look at demo around in the demonstration section, how exactly people interact with the Lambda or how the AWS console look like. But for now, understanding it's a serverless function as a service, many people also refer that. It works when an event occurs. Now that event can be multiple type, API request, schedule events, or some real-time events. Any sorts of events that occurs, you ask Lambda to take action on it. Like say API gateway, someone hits API gateway, then there is an event and you ask Lambda to respond. Now that response depends on your use case. It can be as simple as you get a record from a database or a DynamoDB or Redshift and give it back to the end user. Or let's say whenever a user hit a Lambda, you trigger your entire machine learning training pipeline. It can be anything. So Lambda plays a very beautiful role, and it's more of like a foundational service when it comes to the orchestration part. or you want to have more like an integration kind of way, then Lambda always look forwards. Things like step function also, you will see that Lambda plays a vital role there. So step function is more also like help you to design your business rule, but underneath Lambda function are the main actors which help you to run. So that's how Lambda is very beautiful services. Again, you need to watch out about Lambda is it's very subjective on your use case. Now, what kind of use cases, what kind of business problem you're solving, that's how you have to choose AWS Lambda. Now, if you have something which needs to be there 24/7 up and running, then Lambda is not the right service. You need to explore something like ECS, EKS, and EC2 or Beanstalk. So you need to understand what you're trying to solve, what is in pattern around it, and then you pick up Lambda. And yeah, the best thing about, like, if you see 2 days back itself, AWS announced 10 GB of permanent, I mean, the persistent storage, what you can add with Lambda. So even if you have some big PDF files or zip files which you want to chunk once in a day, those kinds of also advanced use cases what you can do. And with help of like couple of years back, the Docker integration, I've seen many people even hosting their lightweight machine learning model in a Docker container in Lambda. So those are the beautiful use cases I've seen. And there are many people doing a marvelous job when it comes to using Lambda to the next level. So please do watch out. And it's a very good service. But again, do keep in mind, Lambda is not always the right service. You need to understand what exact business problem you're solving and how exactly people will interact with that platform. Based on that, you decide. Moving towards the next is the Elastic Beanstalk. So many people, like, this Beanstalk is a very old service again. What people generally needs is like sometimes they are hosting any sorts of web application. Now, ideally, this service is there in the AWS before even this ECS, EKS things were there, right? So the advantage of Beanstalk is, let's say you're very new to AWS. Okay, you can use EC2 instance for sure. You can have the same Tomcat server or same other services, Apache Nginx and those kinds of servers. You can install in EC2 instance, or you can Dockerize it. I mean, Dockerize is a new way, I would say, but you can have it on EC2 instance also, you can run. But let's say you're a very startup, you don't have a larger tech team, and you don't have to worry about, you don't have to really get into the complexity of protectionalizing this servers, right? You just know how to write the code and you're very new. There exactly Beanstalk is a right service for those kinds of audience, where you really don't have to get into the configuration part of it, how to install Nginx, it's a new version of it, have the patch have been applied, or if I want to have like a proper web application with database, ALB, how exactly I can do that with blue green deployment, right? There exactly you see Beanstalk help you a lot better with direct integration with AWS code pipeline, and as well as with database and load balancers. So previously, up to few months back, it provides like a proper framework where you can have load balancer, you have Beanstalk and a database, and you can easily pair this to build a multi-tier architecture like a web application front end, back end, and a database layer. You can have that three-tier architecture, and you can solve or build any web application. That was very done very gracefully, right? But as time evolves, you see different services coming out new, like containers like Docker, Kubernetes, and all. So people start moving towards that kind of stuff. But still, there is a larger portion of the people who are new on AWS and wants to use any sorts of web application. They offer Beanstalk to not to worry about productionizing this web server and get all those things out of the box. Previously, one of the small thing which was missing in Beanstalk is the database, right? If you delete the Beanstalk, your database also get deleted because it was tightly coupled. But now AWS also removed that out, that if you have a Beanstalk and you have a database, you can split that into two different components. So you can have your RDS still running even if you want to delete your Beanstalk application or relaunch or anything we need to do. That takes the Beanstalk also and help people who are already using it, right? So those are the small things, but it really, Beanstalk is really good to service for the people who don't know about ECS and EKS, are very new to them, and there's a good learning curve. EC2 for them is like a barrier because they need to do productionize and all, where Beanstalk help you to reach out to the production very fast and don't have to worry about productionizing or hardening and those kinds of stuff. And again, from a flexibility of programming perspective, there is a wide options available, like you can do Java, you can have .NET, you can have Node.js, PHP, those all kinds of stuff you can deploy in Beanstalk. You don't have to worry about it, and it also integrates with the CI/CD. So that makes it more simple. Next is the ECS. Okay, I think ECS, you can see from the name itself, the container, right? This is one of the very best service, and I would say the only limited services that AWS provides in the market. I'll tell you the reason of why. So many a time people always look forward. Kubernetes is the way to look forward. I absolutely agree. Kubernetes is the way to look forward, but ECS is not the less. The way AWS provides ECS, like the vanilla Docker, also sometimes I refer it as like the Docker as a kind of a container services, it really helps you to take your ECS also. Like in EKS, there is a good amount of orchestration, networking, control what EKS provides. But if you are very new to the entire containerization world and you don't want to get into that complexity because of learning curve, you don't have a right staff or resources, ECS is a go-to services. AWS simplifies the ECS to an smaller level. It's equivalent to look like you're running a task on an EC2 instance. Like it provides the entire task register. You are just running like a task, like a run book. How you have you're running on EC2 instance on a Docker with high availability. That's what exactly the ECS is. I haven't seen this services offered by anyone in the market as a managed services where you really don't have to worry about it. Get your image of Docker, provide a task kind of stuff, how it works, and it will take care. And the best part of ECS, it provides auto scaling not on the container level, but also on the task. So that's how it scales out and integrates equivalently with application load balancer. So the application load balancer, when it was very new in the market, it was tightly integrated with ECS. Now you can see people are using with EC2 auto scaling as well as EKS, but people widely use ECS and ALB load balancer. That way they can route the traffic to the different task which is hosted in ECS. So that's the best part about ECS. Again, there are wonderful other functionalities and feature you get if you move towards EKS or Kubernetes. But if you're very new and you don't know how to get into that complexity and you want to still start, then ECS is the go-to tool around it. And again, as I said, it's a managed offering, so you don't have to worry about spinning up the servers or taking care of those kinds of stuff. You just focus on your Docker image. You focus around your entire the way the Docker image needs to run, like ports, the way kinds of other tasks. That's all. Rest everything is taken care. Again, both ECS as well as EKS. I mean, EKS also a couple of months back they have opened for the Fargate. So Fargate is a serverless. How we talk about the Lambda, that Lambda is the case. There is also a serverless container offering which is provided by AWS. Both it's applicable to both ECS as well as EKS. So if you want to run container as serverless, Fargate is an option which you can enable for ECS also, which you can enable for the EKS. So that's about the ECS part of it. And again, you can do more complex thing. Very recently, around reInvent this year, ECS on-prem, EKS on-prem. Those are the, I would say, extended version of what AWS offers to even if you have something on-prem and you want to run, that's the case. But again, those are the advanced things. I want to keep it limited, not to go in detail because those are very good, useful, but you have very good knowledge and you have a use case, then they are look forward. But moving back towards DevOps part of it, ECS and EKS helps you from a container perspective. And if you're very new for containers, go for ECS. So that's about what we had so far in terms of the theoretical I talk about. Like today we focus on monitoring and security part of it, where we understand CloudWatch, CloudTrail, X-Ray, secret managers, parameter store. Then we move towards the platform, which is a core backbone. We understood about Lambda, Beanstalk, ECS. Again, please, if you want to go in detail and understand about Lambda or ECS, EKS, please go log in to YouTube, search for AWS User Group India YouTube channel. There is a good amount of videos are there across all of these services. And again, if you're not able to find it, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. With that, I'll switch it on to the AWS console for the demonstration part. Again, please focus on the demo. Don't worry about writing down the steps or the codes. As I said in the last session also, whatever the presentation I have, whatever the code snippet I'll use, everything I'll put it into GitHub repo and I'll post it in form of a comment below the video, which will be in the YouTube channel. And same what I've done for the last session also, and we'll do the same thing for this session. So with that, I'll switch it on to my AWS console. Give me a second. second. Share screen. Okay. So yep, I think you guys can look into my AWS console. Again, for the folks who are very new, AWS has just come up with a new AWS console. It's a very good console, very neat and clean, I would say, and very fancy itself. You can see a couple of screenshots here. Please do switch over it. I still yet to left because I want to give a demo, and I'm pretty habitual of this old one, so I haven't switched into it. But again, please do switch it. By default, it will get started from April 2020. You will see the new console. But again, look into that, and it's a really good. I've tried it out in a couple of other of my accounts. So today, for the first demo, we'll talk about how exactly you can work around with your entire secret manager, right? Your how exactly the secret manager works, what exactly is secret manager, how we can retrieve and all. So step one, we'll go and search for secret manager. So if you see here, there's a search bar. If you don't know where exactly that service falls in which catalog, you directly type the name of that service in the search bar and you will see that thing. So first thing is the secret manager. So this is a console. I don't have any secret manager being used. This is a brand new. So this is how you will see a landing page. Now you can see the pricing also. Like as we were talking about when we are comparing the secret manager and system parameter store, here you can see the difference, right? For per secret, it's 4 cents. And for 10,000 call, it is not even like a cent, less than a cent. So that's how it's cost effective, and even there's a 30 days free trial. So what we'll do is we'll click on the store a new secret. As I was talking about, there are different ways you can do, right? You can have your thread for RDS, document DB, Redshift, other databases, and API key. What I'll do is I'll do an API key. Now, when you do an API key, right, there is a two-way you can do. Either if you have any sorts of JSON file, many a times people used to have a config file, right? You have different details in that config file. So you can put it into form of the JSON also here. Like you don't need to go, there's like a key value. You can directly have that JSON form also. It's small stuff. What we'll do from a demo perspective, I'll just make any simple secret here. Again, just please watch out. Don't share your password with anyone. Again, this is not my password. This is a random password that I generated. So this is how you can do it. If I click on plain text, you can see the name, and the name is like a key, is a JSON format key and the value. So whenever we will be retrieving the secret, you will not only specify your secret name, but as well as the key, which you will look into the code, that the which secret you need to get and what is the key around it. That becomes very helpful, that if you, let's say, have your JSON file and you have 10 secrets and you want to retrieve one specific key of that JSON, that also it's possible. You don't need to retrieve the entire thing. One specific key also you can do from that JSON parsing. So behind the scene, it will retrieve the JSON, but when it gets to the end user, to your application, you can also cherry pick one of the key from that entire JSON. So this is what we have. I'll give the encryption key. So I was talking about which is applicable to both parameter stores as well as the system manager. Sorry, secret manager also you can use the encryption. And then we'll go the next. Here you can have a path. Like most of the people when they do in the production environment, you have the production environment / app / component name and then the cred. That's how you can see a path-based approach also. What I'll do is for now, I'll keep it like a very simple name of the secret. You can add description also what the secret means, which is very helpful. Like from demo purpose, I'm skipping. It's an optional, that's why, but it's very helpful for you to understand. And then we can have more other, like you can edit the permission, who can around it, who can look into it and all. You can replicate the secrets also with and again, as you can see, right, you can replicate the secrets at read only in other region, which was a very interesting feature. Like if you are working on any sorts of disaster recovery or those kinds of stuff, like cross region, you can have secrets stored in one region. Sorry, excuse me. You can have the secret stored in one primary region, but you can replicate it across as a read only. So even if you make changes, it will be in one region and automatically it get replicated at read only and other stuff. And again, there's a charges to it, but again, as I said, charges are very less around it. So we'll go to next, and this exactly we were talking about. The cool stuff, replication cross region, and the second thing is the automatic rotation. Now we won't be enabling it for our demo, but if I enable it, you will see that you can have a cron job, you can have an expression around it, what duration you need to rotate, and other stuff, and you can specify your custom lambda. So that lambda is, you can have different SDK, like maybe if it is an AWS service, you can use any programming language and any SDK in it. If it is a custom database and all, you can have the APIs and you can write anything in the lambda and pair it, which automatically will get invoked by the secret manager. For the demo, we will disable it, and I'll click on the next. So this is just giving me a kind of a review screen, just saying that, okay, this is it. Again, the best thing is we will also look into the code when we move to Lambda. But here you can see, if you're very new and you don't know about the code or SDK about Secret Manager, AWS themselves provides a code also. Like if you are good with Java V2 version, JavaScript, C#, Python 3, Ruby, or Go, any programming language you are using around it, AWS do share the code snippet which will help you. So if you see here, this is the same. I mean, I've optimized this code snippet from a demo perspective, but this completes the entire good code snippet with proper exception handling and all. So almost like a production version of the code, you get it out of the box. You just copy paste and put it into your Lambda or EC2, wherever you want to integrate this. So we'll click on store. If I refresh this, you'll see that secret has been created. And if I go on the secret, you will get the entire details around it, like the permission, the sample code. You can even retrieve it now itself. So that's about step one, where we have a secret code, where you have the secret store in the secret manager. Next, what we'll do here is we'll go to the AWS Lambda. So again, we'll search for AWS Lambda. And for AWS Lambda, as you can see, there is no Lambda function. So I'll create a Lambda function here. For the people who are new for the Lambda, as this is how you can access the AWS console for the Lambda service. There are different 4 options are there. You can create from scratch, design your own custom Lambda. You can use the blueprint, which AWS offers. There are good blueprints are available to begin with. You can use the containers. As I was talking about in Lambda, that I've seen many people doing machine learning, lightweight machine learning model. So you can have the container images also, which has been pulled from ECR, Elastic Container Registry. You can have that container registry also pulling and executing within the Lambda. Or there are many people who contributes it here, right? So like if you talk about, even I have a contribution, so you can have the different contribution here where people do uses publish their own different Lambdas, and you can take care of that stuff. So those about the different ways you can take care of that thing. I mean, you can start your journey or the hello world with Lambda. For the people who are the expert, they know the stuff. And most of the time, what people generally do, right? They start by taking a template, which is from the blueprint, and then they customize it. The advantage what they get is there are a couple of logging, the way the code is modularized that you get out of the box. So that is another way also I've looked forward. Now, from a programming or runtime perspective, you will see there is a Python 3. These are the latest version of it, .NET, Go, Java, Python, Ruby. And you will also see there are other programming language. I mean, the previous versions are also supported here. Or you can define your own custom runtime with using Amazon Linux 1 or 2. We'll use Python 3.9. And then I'll give an IAM role. IAM role will help Lambda to interact with Secret Manager. I mean, verify its identity that I have a permission, and based on that permission, it will fetch the secret which we just created, name as demo2. So as you can see, the Lambda is created. If I go to the Lambda, by default, there is a small code snippet that's already provided by Lambda. So this is like an hello world. So if anyone, let's say, very new to the Lambda, this is what exactly you can think of a Lambda, hello world. This is called as a handler, and this is called as your return statement. The return statement is when your Lambda executed successfully, then this will be printed on your AWS console or given back as a response to your end user. And this is a handler. Handler is like your main function. So any people who have been coming from different programming language, you have a main function. The first function which get executed, like in case of Java, it's public static void main. public static void mean what you have, and then you give it. So this is like for Lambda, it's a function. Handler is the main function where you provide around it. And again, it need not to be a fixed syntax. You can change this name under configuration, any name. Like if you have some component name, maybe read from database, you can have that function name also, and you can customize in the handler. That's all possible to do. And in case of, if I take 2 minutes, in case of event, like as I was talking about, Lambda is more like an event driven approach. So any events will be given or will be accessed via this object. Context, if you need any sorts of Lambda related information like the execution ID, how much time Lambda is left before it get killed, or other information about Lambda, you can get from this context object. So what we'll do is, I've already have a code snippet which we have designed for reading the secrets. This is on similar lines, but a simple version. Again, don't worry about the code. I'll upload it into the GitHub and we'll share the link in the below video description. So this is exactly the code snippet. If I quickly talk about, let me zoom in a bit. So Python Boto 3, this is a Python SDK for interacting with AWS. This is a Lambda handler, as I give a description. This is the secret, right? Secret name. So in our case, the secret name is demo2. So I give it the secret name. And creating an object for the session, Boto 3 session, and then I'm initializing with that session which AWS service I want to use. So this, you will see most of the common two things for most of the services where you're working with S3, DynamoDB, parameter store. These are the Boto 3 configuration that you need to initialize which first the Boto 3 object, and then which AWS service you need to work on. There are additional parameters also you need to provide sometimes, like region is there, encryption and all, which is subjective to different services. And then this is the Boto 3 function, which says Boto client, which is a Boto 3 object, get secret value, secret ID, and our ID is the secret name, which is the demo2. So this gets the secret. And as I said, like if you have, it will fetch the entire secret, but if I need like a cherry pick secret, then that's how I will parse that JSON and give the key name. That okay, from that particular stuff, give me the secret string. So if I don't have it, it will get me the entire block of the JSON, which includes different other things also. But if I need only that JSON, which has that demo and the password, then I'll put secret string here. I will deploy this. Okay, and next what we will do is we will test. Now again, you will see there is a change. The people who are already using Lambda, you will see in last 2 days there is a change in this event thing. Previously, this event was very specific to your personal use, but now you can make this shareable, and with help of like AWS IAM, you can share this across the user. So you don't need to document it another. You can have this as a store as an artifact, and you can share it with other user if you have based on the permissions. So that's a cool stuff which I think AWS released 2 days back. We'll make it private and demo, because technically I just want to trigger the Lambda with some sample event. I actually don't want to read anything. So I'll make it private and save this. And then next, do ensure that you need to first deploy. Deploy means save it, and you're putting it in under execution, and then after test. And if you see, if I just the screen bigger, you will see that this Lambda got executed. This was the event name demo, and this is what we store under secret manager. You get the name and you get the value of it. So this is how it's very simple. Like if you go back and you understand, technically in this one line of code, you were able to get the secret. Like this is a common thing to work with Boto 3. And in this one line of code snippet, you were able to fetch the secret from AWS Secret Manager. Again, this is not a production code. This is a demo version. If you want to really make it production version, then you will have try, catch and all. And that code snippet is already provided by AWS under your Secret Manager console. So that's how you can easily interact with Secret Manager. I'll keep this Lambda running. I'll show you how exactly X-ray works. But for now, we'll switch over to the second demo for today, which is around our parameter store. So what I do here is, again, go back to the home screen, and in the top, again, don't search for parameter store, search for system manager. As you can see, the first service itself will get the system manager. System manager is a very good service. There are many features provided around the system managers, right? Like patching, if you want to do change management, capture any sorts of resource inventory, all those kinds of stuff you can do for system manager. I mean, if I talk about system manager, it will be easily take over an hour talking about system manager. For sure, I'll have another session about system manager in deep dive. But for today, we'll focus on specific feature of system manager, which is parameter store. So this is how we get them into parameter store, and the console looks like almost similar what we deal with secret manager. You have the landing page, and next we'll click on the create parameter. Again, when you talk about, as the name itself suggests, right, parameters, like parameters, something like read only, available, people can easily read around it. So generally, things like you have any sorts of parameters, environment driven flags, or any sorts of stuff that people use for parameters. So that's a right use around parameter. But there are many, as I talk about, there are many, because of the secure string option, there are many people who even store their credential, which we saw in the difference that you can do that, but it doesn't integrate with RDS, Redshift, as well as it does not offer you to rotate automatically. Those are the two big features which are missing in the parameter store. So what we do is, I'll give the same name. Again, you can have the standard as well as advanced. The major difference you can see is in the payload size, like 8 KB, and the other one is a 4 KB. And the standard one is no charge applied. The advanced version, charges are applied. And based on the type, you can have string, you can have string list, and you can have secure string. For our demo, we'll use secure string. You can provide the KMS key, as we saw in the differentiation. Both secret manager and parameter stores offers KMS encryption, and again here you need to give the value of it. So let's say I've given a demo, and I'll give the value. You can store a JSON also in parameter, need not to be just like any sort of, you have a config file which is of creds, you can store that. So this is what I have given, and since I've given a secure string, it by default converted into the secure stuff, and this is how the simple way of doing it. So both secret manager and parameter store, you saw it's very simple to use. Now let's switch back. This is what we have created as name as demo as parameter. We'll do the similar stuff. We'll go back to our AWS console. We'll open Lambda, and we'll design one more similar Lambda, which will read the secret from parameter store. We'll do the same setup. Initial setup is the same. You provide the Lambda function name, you provide the runtime, the IAM role. Okay, and everything almost will remain the same. The only difference you will see between both, I mean, outside the entire configuration of parameters and secret store, the only difference you will see be on the Boto 3 SDK part. Rest, creating the Lambda, configuring the event, and all those things, IAM rules will remain the same. In IAM role, you will provide parameter store permission instead of secret manager in this case. So let me quickly bring up the code for parameter store. You'll see the code itself as I explained in secret manager. If we go back to the code syntax, I've kept it almost similar. It's all the same. Like you have this Lambda handler, you have the parameter name. In our previous case, it was secret name. Here we have the parameter name. The same Boto 3 session, the client as I talk about which AWS service you want to interact. There we have get retrieve secrets. Here we have get parameter. And then since we have encrypted it, you're saying with decrypt true, and you're giving the parameter name. That's the only difference. This is the only line which we have the difference compared to reading a secret, I mean code from secret with parameter stores. So that's how, from a programming perspective, it's almost the same. Secret manager gives you the wonderful functionality of rotation and cross account, I mean cross region sharing. That's why we should look forward. When it comes to from a programming perspective, is still the same. So parameter is demo. I will deploy this. So it got deployed. Second, we will go and try to test. We have to give an demo event to trigger the Lambda. And next, we will go and hit. So as you can see, we got the value of our parameter, which is ABCD exclamatory 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is what we have stored. Now, if I remove, let's say, if I remove this decryption, if I run this, This is exactly what we have done in the secret manager. And if I run this, so we'll get the exact way where the parameter was stored by parameter store. So that means that it really stores a parameter in a secured form, in an encrypted form. Unless and until I don't enable or provide a flag with decryption, you will see it exactly reads the way it is stored in the parameter store. So it doesn't matter. I mean, even if you are using parameter store, you do not have to worry about it. As I said, it's very subjective based on your use case. From a security perspective, both parameter stores also stores in a very secure form, which we just saw, and secret manager also does the same thing. So that's about both, like how we understood create the secret, write a lambda to fetch the secret from it. Same goes with parameter store. You create a parameter there, choose secure string, and then you write a lambda to fetch it. Difference from an API perspective, it's just a one line of Boto3, the function which you're calling to fetch the secret, fetch the parameter. So that's about how exactly you can deal or you can work around with secret manager, work with secret manager and the parameter stores. Next, what we will do is, if you remember on the monitoring and security, we also talk about something called as X-ray. And I told you that, okay, it really helps. I mean, it helps with other services, but in case of Lambda, you should enable for sure about X-ray. What I'll do is for the secret manager, I will enable the X-ray and will run the secret manager again from an X-ray demo perspective. So from an X-ray enable, right? Again, X-ray has its own SDK. If you want to really get the detailed understanding of each and every API, you need to write a couple of other syntax to trace what kind of tracing label, what kind of other details you need. But let's say you don't want to get to that granular level, but at a high level, you still need that visibility. You don't need to make any changes in your code, which is what we'll demonstrate. So this is what a Lambda function is. I'm not going to make any change in my code. I'll go to configuration. And under configuration, you will see by default monitoring and operational tool, you will have the log and metrics enabled. This is the CloudWatch logs, which we'll also see like how exactly the CloudWatch help in case of Lambda. But let's say I want to enable the enhanced monitoring and active tracing. What I'll do is I'll click on edit, enable, that's it. And I save it. So that's I was talking about that. If you already have an SaaS application, then this is how simple you have to do. You don't have to really worry about having agents running and all those stuff. You just have to enable it, and by default, you will get that functionality. So this is how you will get log monitoring, enhanced monitoring, and active tracing. Let's make one more invocation of Lambda, and let's understand how exact these three things will help us. So I've invoked it once. Let me invoke it 2-3 times. Okay, so I've just run the Lambda again and again 3-4 times, right, to get some variation of it. What we'll do next is we'll go under monitoring. Now, this time we'll go under monitoring part of it. Okay, and first we'll go under metrics. So this is how this all is called as a CloudWatch metrics. Now, many a times people have auto scaling and all those stuff, right? So this is with respect to Lambda, but this is how people, I mean, AWS tracks, like whenever your data point, the metrics which you have defined, maybe CPU or memory or any sorts of network, goes or bridge above thresholds or below thresholds, it triggers auto scaling policies like scaling up or scaling down. But this is how the visualization of CloudWatch metrics look like. The entire logs, they summarize it and help you to analyze that logs. Like as you can see, this is what I have invoked it recently, how that got invoked, like minimum duration, maximum duration, was there any errors which I faced and other stuff. Right, so this is about the metrics. If you really want to understand the CloudWatch logs, so this is how, if you click on that Lambda, it will directly take you to the CloudWatch logs. You can open the latest one and you will understand this all. So this becomes very helpful when you are, let's say, running it in an asynchronous manner. What that means is every time you will not invoke your Lambda in production environment, you won't invoke your Lambda manually from console. You will have some integration maybe with SNS, API gateway, or some real-time events. Now, even if you want to understand behind the scene that, let's say, 3 a.m. your Lambda got executed and it failed. Why it failed, I don't know. Then you have to go back to CloudWatch log, this log event, which is by default if you have enabled your Lambda, and you will get this different logs. Now I've just made it very simple, like the secret name, but if you have proper logging enabled, you'll get the entire step-by-step log, which will help you to troubleshoot. That's what we understood in our CloudWatch description when we were trying to understand that how you can get the logs. This is how it logs everything with the proper timestamp and proper event. This message is nothing but the event, which helps you to track it in a very real time. If you see the differences, it's a very real time. It helps you to understand all the events. So let's go switch back to our Lambda console. So this was about CloudWatch metrics and CloudWatch logs. Next, I will take towards logs. Most of the time, this is a very good CloudWatch logs inside. It's very helpful functionality, and it helps me a lot, right? How it helps me to analyze. Many times what people generally do is they put larger runtime or the memory to Lambda function at the beginning because they have no idea how their Lambda is going to function. But what they forget to do it or fail is after a week or two, they go back to AWS console and try to analyze it. Then exactly it helps me that, okay, now if I take my execution of my Lambda, it helps me to analyze what is the duration in milliseconds, what is the memory and memory use. So if I want to optimize it, now I've already used the very base of it. But if I want to optimize it, if I've given, let's say 5 GB of memory, and if I want to optimize it because my Lambda is not using it, I can use this trend of recent invocation of 1 hour, 3 hours, 12 or 1 week and try to optimize it and save more cost. Now, because in Lambda, what is the memory and what you give, right? So if you see this invocation, it's memory assigned and the build duration. So you have to optimize your build duration to not exact the same, but plus close to that value, not completely off of it, as well as the memory part of it. So that's how you will see that how exactly the build duration helps, right? So if I have this one, this is the most expensive. So what they do is, as given in this formula, they take this build duration, multiply this, and this is how the build total duration in seconds will take in GB seconds. So you can optimize your Lambda with this. Next, if I go and click on this traces, and here you will see the X-ray. Like if I just zoom in a bit, so this is how the Lambda is, right? You can visualize it, trace it. This is my Lambda function, and this is my Lambda, how exactly this has been taking care of it, right? So how does my Lambda function? Analyze it, that's what you can do. Now, what you can also take care of, what you can also look into here is, you can go to view X-ray in surveillance. And this is how you can see, like how exactly or what's the time it takes. Like it takes 1 second, 900 milliseconds, that kinds of latency, what you can see. So you can understand how exactly your Lambda was very fast. I mean, again, this was very fast in case of Lambda, but if based on your component, you can try to deep down a bit and optimize it. And as well as if you click on this particular hyperlink on this ID, this is exactly give you the snapshot. As a customer, I invoke the Lambda, and Lambda reads the entire function and all. And this is how you can get certain stuff. Now, this actually don't show you the core part of the secret manager, right? That you have Lambda, how much Lambda took the time from Lambda execution to secret manager and the return route. Because I have not enabled that within the code. I've just enabled overall on the Lambda, which shows me the invocation and the completion of Lambda. But if I want to go a bit down on the API level, then I have to enable and write the code of X-ray SDKs within the Lambda that tells me on the each API, with this X-ray, which is Secret Manager, S3, DynamoDB, or any custom API, I can trace that. Like similar way how I'm tracing the invocation and the completion, the same you can trace it on each and every API. So that's why AWS X-rays help you to understand your performance of your Lambda better, and you can optimize the entire duration and the entire billing of the Lambda. So that's how what we have learned. Let me switch back to our presentation. So we have done a demo on AWS Secret Manager. We have done a demo on AWS Parameter Store. We also explore how exactly you can enable X-rays and CloudWatch. Next, we'll go and do a big demo. This will take me like almost 15-20 minutes and a very good demo around CI/CD pipeline. And again, need not to say, if you have any questions and queries, please do post in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. So now, as the next, what we'll do is we'll demonstrate the cloud native CI/CD pipeline on AWS. So this is exactly what we will be looking care of that. So we'll have the developer pushing the code. We don't need the Cloud9. Cloud9 is an AWS editor, which can also help you, like how we have Eclipse and those kinds of Visual Studios. Cloud9 again is an offering for the developers that they can leverage and work easily in a seamless fashion with the AWS services. So we'll focus on this particular side of the stuff. We'll have code commit. Instead of code commit, as I promised in the last session, I'll make a change and I'll focus on the GitHub. I'll have code build, code deploy, and code pipeline, and this functionality. To enable to run this demo, first what we will do is we'll switch back to our AWS console, and I'll deploy a cloud formation. So this will also help me to demonstrate the cloud formation, which I've done in the last session, as well as we can understand in detail. This cloud formation is going to launch VPC for the demonstration, so it can deploy the entire VPC landscape, the internet gateway, subnet, security group, and all those kinds of stuff, as well as it will launch a server in a private subnet, as well as the couple of IAM policies roles what I need in terms of for this particular demonstration. So as we understood in the last session also, you have to pick on choose template or from S3 URL, and automatically AWS will pick up that template. This is how I'm keeping all the parameters. Let me walk you through, but I'll keep all the parameters same. The CIDR range, the IP address range for the subnets, like the private, the public, VPC, the entire SSH key, what you need, and the location of it. What we'll name is the CI/CD. And I'll click on the next. As we understood in the last session also about, you can have, by default, it will roll back if it fails, but you can keep it preserve the state if you want to troubleshoot it. And this is the review screen. I'll say acknowledge the cloud formation, because as we discussed in the last section also, since I'm launching an instance profile and IAM role, I need to acknowledge that I'm okay with giving cloud formation the permission of pass role. This cloud formation will take like somewhere around like 5 minutes or so to do it, right? In meantime, let me switch over to our presentation, and I'll just quickly talk about what we are trying to achieve. So what we'll do is we'll have a GitHub repository. The same repository link I'll share with you. There's an application in there. That application will pick up any celebrity image, will upload it. It will use AWS recognition service in the background, will identify with the confidence who's that particular celebrity is. We'll deploy this entire application on EC2 instance with help of code deploy. So my infrastructure will be by cloud formation. That will be one-time setup. And then the continuous any sorts of releases or the deployment will be taken care by the code deploy. So that's how in industry people generally do. The first launch, the bare platform, is being taken care by infrastructure provisioning, is taken care by cloud formation. They do also have a pipeline for it, or they do it via some codes and all. And the ongoing deployment cycle is being taken care by code commit or GitHub, which becomes your repository, your code build, and code deploy. Those wrapped in code pipeline help you to automate your deployment process. And then based on your different application, you can have secret manager, parameter stores, or any other those kinds of services. So we'll wait for the cloud formation to get complete. And let me just talk about, so this is what we have done. So even if, let's say, you're very new, this is a new account, you're just deploying it, you need to have the key pair there. So for AWS SSH, you need to do key pair. Again, you can have SSH also, or for this session, generally, I don't prefer to use key pair, because if that key pair get compromised, any user can get into their server. So I always use session manager, which again, a feature under system manager. From AWS console itself, I can get into the server from my existing IAM role without getting into this complexity of key pairs. So we'll, if you are still not familiar with it, you can have key pair and you can provide that option. Then as we look into the steps, you provided the cloud formation, you search for the console of cloud formation, upload your template, the same template I'll put in the GitHub repository. You'll have the entire stacks created, you give the name of it. Just don't make any changes, click on next, provide the PEM file, the right PEM file. If you're creating a different name of it, provide the right key pair, which is called as PEM file. Review and then wait for the outcome for the cloud formation to get create complete. And then you will see under output section, you have the ALB of the server. That won't work because you don't have anything running on EC2 instance. So once this particular steps are done, at step 2, we will configure EC2 instance. We'll prep our EC2 instance to have code deploy agent running and Node.js. Now, technically, this code deploy agent can run on EC2 instance as well as you can use code deploy for your on-prem service also. Let's say you have any virtual server, any sorts of server which is running on-prem and you want to deploy something, use AWS service and want to build a code deploy and an entire deployment pipeline pointing to on-prem, that also you can do. The only thing you need to take care of is this particular agent needs to be running. So with help of this agent, code deploy service can interact with that server. The same is for the EC2 instance. And then at the next step, we will deploy the Node.js in that. So let's see if our cloud formation stack is being completed. It's launching an ALB. So we'll go on the resource section and you'll see it's just, I think, completed most of the stuff. Load balancer is the one which is launching. So we'll wait for that. And once this is completed, then only as we talk about, you will see the output section there, and this will be marked as green, which means that is completed. So it's just enable the resource creation. It should take a minute or so more to get done. Let's wait for that. And yes, in meantime, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. Let's wait for this one. So this will take some time. So behind the scene, it's just doing a couple of stuff. Like when you have load balancer on EC2 instance, it also performs health check, right? In our case, the health check for sure is going to fail as I talk about, because you don't have anything set up on your server, not even Node.js, not even your application, nothing is running on EC2 instance. So for sure, your whole health check will fail. And that is why it's taking more time than we expected. So as we can see, if we go back in meantime, if we just try to understand this, 1 second, the different resources which has been launched. So it's currently launching load balancer, application load balancer, but you will also see it has deployed code build, code deploy, config parameters with this name, as well as a couple of other elastic IPs, the net gateway, and all kinds of stuff. If I do one thing, until this getting launched, I'll take you to the designer page. Okay. So as we understood last time also in our session, when we did a high level look into the cloud formation, how exactly our cloud formation worked into it. So this is how the cloud formation, the entire blueprint of the cloud formation look like. What I was talking about, you have the route table, the different subnets, the VPC, what we are talking about, the elastic IP for the Bayesian host. And then if you scroll down, here you can see we have created a different route table for the private, for the public, the subnets, the code deploy IAM roles, code build IAM roles, and the entire connection with EC2 IAM roles and all. And here in the private subnet, we have deployed our EC2 instance. This view really helps if you want to analyze how or what's exactly wrapped in your CloudFormation template. And you can also download this with help of the download option and document this as a kind of an artifact. So sometimes many people, after the entire project is done, you want to document it, right? Do a documentation. So this downloaded blueprint will also help in form of a documentation, which gives you the exact clarity understanding of what exact the code will do. With that, our cloud formation has been deployed successfully. As we can see in the resource section, everything is completed. The same we can see on the left hand side under stack section. We'll go on the output. So now, since the create is complete, the output is enabled, and we can see the different details like code build, code deploy, EC2 role, the IP address for Bayesian host, load balancer, and the VPC. What we'll do is next, as we saw in the presentation, I will log in into I'll do an SSH with help of the session manager. So I'm going to the EC2 instance, and I'll select this EC2 instance, click on connect, and I'll use the system manager. And what we are going to do before we start doing a demo, I just want to verify that we have code deploy agent running. So the code deploy agent is running. As a next step, I will deploy Node.js in it. This all commands, don't have to worry about it. This all commands I have already put it into the presentation under configure EC2 slide. So you just have to execute this command. Saying that, and this is running on Amazon Linux too. Again, this is a cloud formation. So, but this is running on Amazon Linux too. So everything is complete, and at the last, we will verify it by giving an npm-v. That means our code deploy, which is required for the code deploy service to interact with the EC2, that is in set. The Node.js is set because that required by our application. So we'll go next. So this is how we have set up everything in our server. We verified our entire code deploy agent is running successfully, and we then set up running a couple of commands. We install the Node.js in the server. All these commands are already documented under the presentation. Now we'll switch over back to our AWS console. And what we are going to do now, we'll switch over to code build and click on the create project. So here you can see the project name. I'm keeping a CI/CD as a demo. Second, under drop down, you need to select on GitHub. Okay. This is all of my repository. Now, one thing is how exactly I've added my repository here. I mean, this is in my repository, is a private in my repository, how I'm adding this, right? So here you can see the connection status. GitHub is using OAuth to do it. So you can disconnect and you can do it. Let me disconnect this. So now there is no connection to it. So there are two options. Either I can connect with OAuth or I can provide my personal access token. I really don't like of access token approach. I always do an OAuth. So click on this OAuth. And you will see this is screen that is available for the confirm. Many a times this screen gets stuck in my laptop, so bear with me. Okay, again, it's the same. We'll again give a try. One second. Sorry for that. My screen always gets stuck when I try to add this particular. Okay. So we'll give a CI/CD. We'll go at the drop down, select GitHub. Let's wait for the screen. Okay. So finally, I was able to connect to my repository, which you can see it's connected using OAuth. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is select repository in my account, and I just type the DevOps CIC. So this is the location of my repository, which is connected via OAuth. Again, you can, if you have specific version, you need to enable the based on commit ID or tag. That also you can do. If you want to do additional kind of stuff like to improve your builds and all, you can take care of that with additional configuration. What we'll do is next is we'll go into the other approaches. We'll just provide the code build, like how exactly. So as we understood in the code build, right? It provides containers. It provides a different way. Either you can bring your own container or you can use the managed container, which you can do it. So we'll use the managed container here, and which will be of Ubuntu as an operating system. So it provides Amazon Linux and Ubuntu. We'll take this runtime. We'll use the standard, and then the different image. So we can use 0.5. And again, always the latest image. And then we'll use this enabled, so the privilege one. Now, doing check, either you can use the new one or either you can use the existing. What we'll do is, since if you remember, we have launched a cloud formation. So we'll go here and we'll use the one which we have created as a part of our cloud formation. From a security perspective, you can provide timeouts, you can have your SSL certs, you can have VPC. I will not give all those information for now. And use a build spec insert command. So someone asked me in the last session also, is it possible to do builds with the entire code build without build spec? So we demonstrated with static website without build spec. But today, as I said, right, we need a build spec, and this build spec will already by default provided into our stuff. I mean, you can name it, but in our particular GitHub repository itself, if I walk you through with the GitHub repository, just give me one sec. So if you see, this is the GitHub repository. In that GitHub repository, you already have app spec, build spec. App spec will be used by code deploy. If I open this up, this is the build spec file. Okay. So this both files, we already have it into our code repository, so you don't need to provide it externally. I mean, you can just ask code build to refer, which is already provided as a part of your code repository. So this is the step one, right? And then you do just keep going next. As we talked about last time also, you can have this artifact option available for any sorts of pushing a Docker image to ECR and those kinds of stuff. As I said, managed service, the best part is you can have the cloud watch. We'll enable the cloud watch and you can click on create build. Okay, there was a small issue which I enabled a flag of adding new policies, which you should not be. So this is the part one. Next, what we'll do is, next part, we will go into the code deploy. So as I said, code build, the packaging, code deploy for deployment, and code pipeline will be the entire visual workflow. So we have done the first of our job, which is code build, and then we'll go into the code deploy now. Under code deploy, we'll go into code, the same thing, get started, create application, and that application will be the same, the name. Under compute, EC2 or on-prem, as I was talking about, you can also leverage on-prem, Lambda or ECS. We'll select EC2 on-prem. We create application. Okay. So we created the application. Now we need to create the deployment group. Deployment group is where exactly, what is the platform? Like you create a deployment package, but which platform you need to deploy? Like how it will identify it. So again, in the deployment group, we can give any name which we want. Service role will by default will come up, which the one which we have deployed via cloud formation. As I was talking about, you can have in place, blue, green. In place is there will be small amount of downtime. So whenever code deploy is deploying it, it will deploy it on the exact server which is already currently running. And because of that, there will be some sort of a downtime in your application. But if you don't want to have a downtime, you can have a blue, green, where code deploy will execute or deploy on a different replica, same configuration of different replica of a server. If everything is done, then it will switch over. So we will use in place EC2 instance. Then you have to give a name, like what exactly the name of that is. So I gave a name like via which it's going to uniquely identify. So you can see immediately when I give a name and the value, which is the EC2 name, it identifies one unique instance which we can verify it here. And most probably, this is for the demonstration I'm using in EC2 instance. Ideally, in ever setup, you will use auto scaling and you will give the auto scaling name. In case of on-prem, again, that will be a tag or the IP address approach you can take care of. So agent configuration with system manager. So as I said, system manager has patching and those kinds of different stuff. We can say never because we already have our code deploy agent has been there. You can target like if you have auto scaling, if you want to have all servers at a time, one at a time, half at a time, those are the different thing what you can do. In our case, it's a one single EC2 instance, so all of the things falls as same. The load balancer, yeah. So how it's going to verify, right, that the deployment was successful with help of the load balancer. So we have a load balancer already there, and that's a target is CI/CD demo TG target group. We are not using a classical, we are using an application load balancer. And then I click on the deployment group. So this is how the deployment group property look like. Next, what I will go and do it, I'll move towards the code pipeline. So we create code build, the entire build job. Then we create the code deploy, which specify the deployment on the EC2 instance. The package code, it will how and when it should deploy. And then now we'll create a visual workflow, which is the code pipeline. Existing. And here you will see the same thing which we have. Okay. You can create that own, and then here you can see the additional configuration. Now you can have the artifacts as a part of the pipeline. What will happen when the pipeline executes? There is a code build. Code build will perform its own task. It doesn't know that code deploy will be waiting for my artifacts. So how exactly that coordination will done? So code build will perform its all the action, and the compiled output will store on the S3 location. Now you can specify anything. So this is the S3 location which I'm giving. You can give your own bucket. You can use your KMS encryption and all. So that way you cannot. I mean, you can also store timestamp it. I mean, you have a different version of your compiled package which is by code build, as well as you can encrypt it. So let me give demo. Next, here again the same option which we have done in the code build. What's your code? So why this is important? Someone may ask me, okay, why this is important? Because you already specify your build job, but the code pipeline also needs to be triggered if there is small changes has been done. In case of your entire package, it should automatically do it. That's the whole idea. Continuous integration and continuous delivery, continuous deployment. So that continuous means it should be always up and running. For that, it needs to listen to your GitHub account. The same option will do the OAuth here. You can see it's automatically, I mean, I've just click on it and it's done. Then I have to give the repository, which repository needs to select. Which branch, like that's also very important when you're working in the actual use case. You have a different branch like dev, QA, and based on that you target the environments. So which branch? And then there are two options: GitHub webhook or code pipeline. Like that means if there is any change, which approach or via which approach you want to trigger your code pipeline without automatically, without manual stuff. So the first time when we will be demonstrating it, I mean we'll do the demo, we'll have the manual invocation. But if you want to do an automatic approval, automatic update, how we can do that? So you will use the GitHub webhook. Next, we will see there are two options as I was talking about in code build. You can have code build or Jenkins will have code build here. The project name, you can have single build or you can have batch based on the type of your application. As well as in the last demo, we also saw that we skip this build for static website because your code need not to be compiled. You can directly do the perform. So we need next. We are in the deploy. Under deployment, we will do your entire the deployment stage. Give me 1 minute on the deployment stage around it. We'll use the code deploy. Sorry, my bad. I just got. Yeah. So there are different options you have. You can use app config, cloud formation, Beanstalk. As we also understood in Beanstalk, also you can do it. You can have S3 ECS. We have used code deploy for an automation perspective, the deploy name and the deployment group. Next, this is how your pipeline will look like. This is the pipeline configuration. This is your source. This is your build stage. This is your deploy stage. And if you're good, we'll click on the create pipeline. As soon as we'll create pipeline, the first invocation will be a manual trigger. So we'll take a couple of seconds for this to review. Let's wait for this, for the pipeline to get built. So behind the scene, it's just compiling entire thing. Not only just build, I mean, executed all the app spec files and all, it will just fetch the code and also. As you can see now, it is fetching the code, and you can have all kinds of logging and monitoring already enabled, so you can get the details around this one. So if you click on this, this is exactly what we have enabled it. This was the owner, so this is my GitHub ID. So this is the owner from which you can take care of that. Now currently it's performing the build. So you can click on the details, and you can look into the details job itself. So it is just started around it, but you can get the detailed execution what it is going to do within the build job. So let's wait for a few minutes. This will take like few minutes or so to run. And then 1 second. So the build job is successful, and here you can see the logs, like what the entire steps it does, and all those things. And finally, it will move into the deployment stage. Right. If you go into the application, so currently it's targeting. So let me do one thing. Okay. So as you can see here, it's deploying it, and it's deploying in progress, which you can see here. There are different events are there behind the scenes. So this is exactly what the role of app spec files are. So there are different life cycle what you have in deployment. That life cycle varies, like block the traffic, clean the old version of application, update, patch, install new application, test the application, validate before allow the traffic, then finally allow the traffic. Now in the enterprise, when you do it, you need to write all the steps. In our case, I've just only given one phase of it, which is install, right after install kind of stuff. So as you can see, this is the only step what we have specified. The rest everything is been by default there. That's why it's just executed very fast, less than a second. And this is the one which it took more time. And this shows that everything is ran end to end. If I go back to our pipeline, and if we see source where it pulls the code from a code repository, build where it compiles it and store into S3 bucket, and deploy where it targets and deployed on our EC2 instance. Next, we are going to verify whether it got really deployed on our EC2 instance. So what I'll do is I'll go to the cloud formation and I'll get the load balancer link. So this is exactly the load balancer which we deployed, and this is the case. Now, again, this is a sample application what I have built. Okay, I'll give the iconic image for this iconic demonstration. But again, you can build any application, Python, Django, or any kind of stuff. I've built like a simple one and find celebrity. So this is what exactly the demonstration which I want to do. So now if you can see here, what error you got, this app got failed. Okay, now why it got failed? Because it's under configuration. You'll see that fix kind of stuff is there. That's exactly what I want to demonstrate to you guys. That now this pipeline, since we built for the first time, it was manually invoked. But if I want to automatically invoke this on any change into GitHub repository, so how that will take place? Okay, what we'll do for that is I'll take you towards the code base. Sec. So this is all the scripts what you have around the stuff. This is the template under app and under public. So here you can see this is a file. So what I have done is, right, I'll comment this. Right? I'll just add a comment and I'll uncomment the next line. So this is the actual config file which was created by the entire build process, which the application is looking. But for the demonstration purpose, I have just kept this one, which the file didn't generate. That's why it gave an error out. Okay. Now, as soon as I will commit these changes, you will see automatically the code pipeline will get triggered. So my change got saved. If I switch over to my code pipeline console, and if I go back here, you will see that it's already in progress. And how you can verify changing the config file? This is a commit, and this is the commit ID, what we just done. So this is how you automatically perform the continuous integration part of it. Now, once this entire cycle, it will take the same approach. Download the code, package the code, and deploy the code. So this is how you do the continuous integration, testing of it, and continuous release or continuous deployment part of it, which was the entire DevOps help you. This is a very small demo which I have done, but again, people generally use such kinds of pipeline to deploy their entire platform, entire data lake kind of stuff, or even their machine learning kind of MLOps kind of use cases. We'll wait for a few minutes, and as soon as this pipeline is done, we'll again go to our application, refresh the application, and try to upload the image, and that application will work. That will make us ensure that, okay, the entire pipeline deployed the new version of application, and that gave us the response. So we'll wait for a few minutes for this to run. So the build process is completed. So this build process just got completed for the new build, and we are currently waiting for the deployment. The life cycle will remain the same. The different hooks or the stages with code deploy does: log the traffic, clean the old app, install, after install, perform testing, test it, validate, and then release the traffic on the new code base. So we'll wait for a few minutes. It should not take like few more, more than a minute. So it's almost allowed traffic. It's on the last second stage. So this is in progress. This should take like somewhere around like 10 to 15 seconds, because it will be just validating all those stuff. And as you can see, this is completed. And if we go back to our pipeline view, the source complete, build complete, and the deployment is completed. We'll go back to the application, and I'll refresh this application. Now I'll click and upload the image again and find celebrity. So we got that ensures it's Amitabh Bachchan, that's correct. And that's how exactly the real-time different use cases work. This is a small demonstration application, but this is how you can continuously integrate and continuously deploy your new applications and new versions of it. Okay, so that's all what we have from the demo. How exactly you can use, in the last demo we use code commit, today we use GitHub. How exactly you can continuously integrate, test, and you can perform your code deploy. So let me switch on our presentation. This is how we started. We have the keypad, we launched the cloud formation, we configure our EC2 instance with ensure that code deploy agent is running, and the Node.js for our application. The steps what we have done, I've documented each and every step, so you can try to replicate the same thing at your end. The entire code build steps, the all configuration what we have enabled it, the code deploy jobs and the name what we have done, the code pipeline, how we selected the GitHub repository, perform auth around it, select the code build, code deploy, and at the last, the cycle what we have done to test the pipeline automatically by changing the app.app.js file in that location. We have done that. And again, we have done the code commit way also in the last, but again, if you want to do the code commit way for the same demonstration, you know how to create a code commit repository. You can create a code commit repository and you can grant the permission, like the similar permission you can grant, and these are the same commands what you can leverage for the same demo. So that's all what I have from today's session. If I quickly recap what we have covered up. So we covered the entire recap from the last session, like why DevOps, introduction, the journey of DevOps, and the different DevOps stack. Then we spoke about the services, what we have covered in our last sessions. Then we started in today's session, focusing around monitoring, logging and monitoring security services, where we cover CloudWatch, CloudTrail, X-Ray, Config, Secret Manager, the system parameters tools, and then we move towards the DevOps services, where we talk about Lambda, your entire backbone, Lambda, Beanstalk, ECS. And then we have done a couple of good demos, like the Secret Manager, the System Manager, X-Ray CloudWatch, and the entire end-to-end pipeline with help of how you can automate your deployment pipeline. So that's all what I have from today's session. Thank you so much for joining the session. If you have any other questions or queries, please put it on the chat. I'll take a couple of minutes to answer any of your questions, and then we'll wrap the session. So please, if you have any questions, please put in the chat. And again, just want to recall, Abhishek will do the same thing, but please do register. At the beginning of the session, I have posted a link in the chat that's of Google form. So as we promised, there will be 2 lucky winners who will get the JetBrains subscription for a year. So please do register in the Google form. The link is already given here. So please do register, and the organizers will pick up the winners and they will communicate the winners offline after the session. So if you haven't registered, you will lose the chance to win the subscription ID. So please do it right now. The link, I'm flashing it on the screen. And again, it's also part of the live chat, so you can take it from there also. And please, if you have any other questions, please put it in the chat. I'm happy to answer the questions. If you don't have any questions, I'll pass it on to Abhishek. Abhishek, over to you. You can make the couple of announcements which you have.
Cool. So it was a very great session, Sanchit. So as we had the last session, this was again very interesting, given that, and mostly the demos. So in the crunch time, you have pulled out a lot of great demos, like 2, 3 services you have covered. It was amazing. And we are glad that we could pull up this two-part series and cover up crux of DevOps services on AWS. I'm happy, and we'll definitely plan these kind of sessions where we will start from basics and dive into the practicals also, like we did today. um, and any of the attendees who are still having questions, or you think that you after watching you are watching this session later and you have some questions, you can still put all your questions in the chat. No problem, we will take a look at it, and we always come back to the comments and we will try to answer it. Also, the giveaway which we talked about is regarding JetBrains subscription for JetBrains IDEs for 1 year, which we will be picking up winner over the weekend, and the form link, which is also flashing on the screen, as well as it is also present in the live chat box. You will have it, and if you feel you have missed to register, you can register it. The same registration will be considered as your entry for the giveaway. And what we'll do is we'll pick random two winners and we will mail you from our official IDs, and we'll provide you with the steps and coupon code for the JetBrains subscription, which you can redeem. So yeah, that was one announcement. And apart from that, again, thank you so much, Sanchit, for taking your time for two sessions. And both of the sessions were very great and very simple to understand for all the newbies here as well. I hope everyone who are willing to start the DevOps journey will get something out of it. And we will again plan such sessions, and will be happy to have you again on AWS UserGroup Nasik. So thanks everyone again. Have a very great weekend ahead, and we'll see you in the next sessions. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for being a wonderful audience. And yeah, it was my
Yes.
pleasure to be part of this user group. Thank you so much. And again, as Abhishek mentioned, if you have any questions, please put on the chat of the YouTube video. We'll happy to answer. As well as I'm actively available on LinkedIn. Do reach out to me if you have any questions and all. As I promised, the video, the entire presentation, the code snap, I will package it, put into GitHub, and share the link on both User Group India YouTube channel as well as User Group NASA. So please perform the tutorial, and yep, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Yep. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye, guys.